Yeah, hey, yes, the disciple martial occurrence reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day. So this part two of the gangsters and thugs didn't really uprise against against you know the greatest oppressors, and so like I would like I feel that even military police will respect people that you know have have chosen the greatest oppressor and have chosen the people that oppress the people the most as enemies. They will respect you if you choose these oppressors as enemies. They may not agree with your methods. They may not agree with how you go about it, but you will get respect for choosing the greatest oppressors as your true enemies, as those who are truly your adversaries, instead of these broke people that you killing. Like a lot of people see that as just the oppressed killing the oppressed. That's a seven. It's the oppressed killing the oppressed. And there's no ending to the oppression when that is the case. If the oppressed is killing the oppressed, how are you going to stop the oppressor? And like I said, in a perfect world, there would be no bloodshed to bring about a revolution. But unfortunately, there is uh, a resistance that you don't see because you're not in the same walk of life as these people. You're not in the same geographical places as the people in America that is the true resistance to the change that you want. You know, and like I don't agree with terrorism. I don't agree with particularly the style of Islamic terrorism and Muslim terrorists. I don't agree with them. I don't agree with their methods, right? But as I get older, I'm starting to realize that maybe who they feel are the oppressors, maybe they're right about that. I'm not agreeing with their methods, but let's look at who they esteem as the oppressor. Let's start looking at who they're esteeming as the problem instead of just looking at their methods over and over and just canceling them out or just dismissing them because of their methods. Their methods I do not agree with. I don't agree with because to me it's not effective. First of all, I mean, going into a store and hurting innocent people will not stop the oppressors. If anything, it's going to make it harder for us. It's going to make it harder for us in every way. You're becoming more of the problem by your methods. That's not going to be the effective method to stop the oppressors. That's the bottom line. And I am a diehard believer in right methods and canceling out wrong methods. Because shooting your gun up in the air and shooting a couple people around the way is not going to solve these problems. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to solve the problems. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically how people been going about it. You know what I'm saying? You want to take out your oppression, your frustration on on your fellow man that's near you. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, for example, every time there's a riot, what people want to do, they go tear up their own neighborhood. It's like, instead of doing that, why don't you go across town and tear up a neighborhood that you feel is oppressing you? That part. Won't you go tear up, something that is the opposite of your environment? You know what I'm saying? People that are not listening to you and don't care about what's happening to you, won't you go and tear up those neighborhoods? That would make sense to me. So there's another example for you, is how Americans will have a problem, right? But they will tear up, they won't fight their greatest adversary. A riot is the perfect example. Okay, at that time, usually when a riot happens, it's usually because of, these days, it's because of a police shooting, right? But you don't choose to tear up a precinct. You don't choose to tear up police cars. You don't choose to target those who are truly at fault, or the institution that's at fault, or the person or the institution that the person that is at fault came out of. You don't choose that. You go tear down a deli, or you go tear down a department store where your whole community has been getting fed and clothed at. You go take, so you know what that means? That you really, people that do that, you're not trying to get your voice heard. You're not trying to fight the greatest adversary. What you are doing is becoming an ignorant person in the time of problems and going and taking advantage of it. And I know, listen, I know street people. I know how they think. All you doing is taking advantage of, you're an opportunist, in other words. You're taking advantage of a disaster and going and stealing clothes and going and stealing food, and you ain't thinking nothing about the oppressor. That's a 7. I'm gonna get you right on out the way, cause you ain't no thug and you ain't no gangster. You a scavenger bird. You a scavenger bird that when a problem comes, you're clucking your head looking for bread. You are not a revolutionary. You are not a thug. You are not a rebel. You're not uprising against the powers that be or the oppressors. You're part of the problem. Now, if you was a real thug and rebel and not some sucker boy, then you would be across town somewhere oppressing people that seem to not listen, seem to not care, seem to be unaffected. Why don't you start in the neighborhood of the cop? That part. Go tear up his neighborhood. Why don't you go tear up the neighborhood of the cop? Find out his neighborhood. Everybody these days, y'all savvy with finding out certain things, right? Why don't you go find out where the neighborhood where the cop come from, and everybody go there and just tear it up. Tear up the plaza, tear up the department stores. Make sure if he's gonna live there, listen, it's not gonna be another day. It's normal, as usual. And listen. You can call me dangerous. You can call me whatever you want to call me. But at the end of the day, that would be choosing the proper oppressors. That would be targeting the proper targets. That's my point that I'm making. Because, see, and I'm going to do a video exclusively about this. See, the problem is, America is coming to a place like we always have. It's just been a long time. We're coming to a place where bloodshed is once again going to be the solution. Because it's too many oppressors. It's too many people that want to keep things as they are, and it's no other method, and see, here's the thing, man. This country has a synthetic sophistication, if you will, a synthetic civilized nature. We're too civilized to do that. There's better ways. What's the better way? And when it's not working, it is not getting any results. You know what insanity is for people that don't know yet? Insanity, by definition, by true definition of the diagnosis, is doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's insanity, right? You're not getting any results. So it becomes insane. And if you're, and see, you can't blame anybody for your insanity. If you're doing the same things, you're going down here voting for these people, you're going down here uh, putting these same type of individuals in office that's doing nothing and bringing no change, you're the one that's at fault for it being insane. It ain't their fault. You should just not even show up and vote. Just let you see what happens. And that's like forbidden in America. Oh no, we got to make sure we get our man in there. Well, who is your man? Because I don't see any men that's really doing anything in this country. Who is doing something? So we supposed to wait 1,000,000 years for change when they can just jump to for Ukraine and pump millions of dollars over there. That happens instantaneously almost. That happens instantaneously almost. But yeah, it takes 20, 30, 40 years to bring about change that you talk about. Poverty shouldn't even be a situation in the greatest country in the world. Okay, the greatest country in the world, where the most money is at, shouldn't poverty be a little bit better? I'm just saying. Shouldn't the homelessness be a little bit better in the greatest country in the world? I didn't say the worst country in the world. The greatest country in the world, the greatest superpower in the world. Shouldn't poverty and homelessness be a little bit better here? It's not a little bit better, is it? Because they don't care. They haven't addressed it as an issue. They're just letting it be as it is. And you keep putting these same people in office. Do you know that there's not even enough money, enough jobs for all Americans to work at one time? There's not even enough jobs here. So if every homeless person, if every person that you esteem as lazy, if they wanted to work, if they wanted to come out their lazy ways, there are not enough jobs for all the Americans that are here. There's not enough jobs. So can we get that established? For all the people that like to ride around and tell homeless people to go get a job, you get off on it. It makes you feel better about yourself. When you're just a paycheck away from the same situation. That's 7. Yeah, you're just a couple paychecks away from the same situation. And you telling him to get a job and do what you do. Okay. Maybe he's smart enough to realize it ain't working. Or maybe he realized that it ain't even worth it. Hey, it's a lot of smart people out in the streets. Meanwhile, even with any of those perspectives that I just showed you, everyone cannot work in America at the same time. You know what that means? For people who still didn't get it yet, you know what that means? That means that every citizen in America cannot have a job at the same time. We all can't be employed at the same time because there's not enough jobs for us all to be employed at the same time. Case closed. So now you see why I think the way I think. I think it's a lost cause. I think all of this is a lost cause. When you hauling out your car, go get a job, and that person cannot, literally all of us cannot work at the same time. That's for the guy that does that. That's for the woman that does that. You're ignorant. Because if you knew that all of us could not work at the same time in America, you would shut down the ignorance. I know you thought it was only black people that can be ignorant. White people can be ignorant too. Well, you're ignorant. You're unlearned about your culture. Your community, your workforce, your government not having enough jobs for all Americans here. And like I said in the first part of this, the first video of this, the Civil War is the perfect example of how there was a resistance to the change that was necessary for African Americans. It's a perfect example. You couldn't talk to these racist people. You couldn't talk to these true racist people. You think you ain't seen, half of y'all have not seen truly racist people in 2022. You see people online. That's what you see. I'm talking about people that don't even get online. You ain't seen them. You have not seen them. That's why you have got so in your feelings about what people be saying, instead of the real racist people that pose a real threat with guns, armed with all type of different type of military style guns, assault rifles. And you worried about what somebody said online. Cancel culture worried about what somebody said online. Cancel culture is showing you how soft you done got. Hey, you worried about what people saying now. You ain't grown. You have not grown tough skin yet. You have not grown tough skin yet to where no matter what somebody say, it doesn't move you. You should be now on to worrying about what people doing. But cancel culture done created a whole culture of worried about verbalizing racism, the verbalization of racism. It has created a whole culture that's basically about the verbalization of racism. Basically. Oh, they said this, they said that. The Civil War is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. You could not talk to these Confederate people. You could not talk to these Southern people about changing America for good. They were not interested in it. They were not trying to do it. Okay? And you could talk to you blue in the face for white Americans, which you are the only ones that could have got through to them. So it applies. It applies. You could have talked to your blue in the face and it wouldn't have changed anything. So guess what you had to do? You had to go to war. And it was an unfortunate reality and a lot of people died. But there was a resistance to the change. There was a resistance to what needed to happen. And these people were willing to die and lay down their lives. So in that case, it has to be bloodshed. And see, here's the problem. That's why I'm going to do a video on this too. And I'm going to keep talking about it. You know, Americans have become so docile as a community. You think you're tough and you're not. You're docile. You're very docile people. You're very passive people. And you have become also disarmed people, and you have become conditioned to stay unarmed. You don't feel the need to be armed. When you have crazy people like zombies all around you, you don't feel the need to be armed in the middle of that because you've been conditioned by laws. I have to say it's by the laws that, that has made you feel like it's almost impossible for you to get guns and weapons. See, like I've explained before, in the past, law enforcement and FBI and CIA and the government as a whole has to come to terms with the fact that you can't stop all evil. You can't stop it because man has free will. A man has a free will, or a woman, or even a child has free will to go down the street and kill someone. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's nothing you can do. It's nothing you can do. You can try to play like it's Minority Report, but you can't do that with the whole society. You can't do it with everybody. You can't act like Minority Report, that movie, you know what I'm talking about, with Tom Cruise, where you got the weirdos trying to predict the future, the crimes and all of that. It's not going to work. You have to come to terms, like the rest of us, that, and this is for the police, FBI, CIA, and military too. You have to come to terms with the fact that there is a higher level, there is a more intense level of evil in the world and you can't take our rights away because of it. That's a 7. You can't take our rights away just because there's a higher level of evil in the world. So this means, you can't be changing, all these gun laws because there's a couple crazy people. They're always going to be like that. There's always going to be people like that. And what you're trying to do, what you're doing and not realizing what you're doing, is you're taking away rights, thinking this is the way to stop evil. It's not going to stop evil. It's not going to work. And you thinking it's making it harder for them. But what you're really doing is also making it harder for good, upstanding citizens to defend themselves. Because we need to be able to defend ourselves. We cannot let ignorant people take our rights away for us to arm ourselves. I'm a person that doesn't do it with an attitude. I do it for survival. You know what I'm saying? I believe in this for survival, not to be a thug, not to be a gangster. And I'm glad I put this in this video for the gangsters and thugs. It's time to evolve past attitudes of carrying weapons and walking around, with a certain disposition and everything, a certain persona. We need to be taken seriously, as a community, with carrying weapons. And you walking around like an idiot all the time, doing certain things all the time. We're not taken seriously as people that want to be armed and people that are responsible with being armed. It's time for that to cease, man. It's time for that perspective to cease. But see, it's an uphill journey, because now being 100, you got black on black crime that is just out of control. So it's a catch-22. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to preserve our rights, but at the same time, you got people out here that get SKSs, which is SKS for street people. You don't know what an SKS is, the proper name for it. That's a chopper. You know what I'm saying? So you got SKSs all out in the street. That's a popular gun, assault rifle that people use. Everyone likes the SKS, these days. But you mess it up. You mess it up for us. When you go out there and you shoot innocent people, innocent kids and things, and then they take our rights away. When we need to be armed against, we don't know how our government is going to be. We can't say. The government can't even tell you what kind of people are going to be in power in the future. They can't tell you that. That would be arrogant. And the bottom line is, we need the option to be armed against the people that's coming. We don't know what authorities are going to be in power. You're a good person, maybe, but you would be arrogant to say that there's some oppressor or some dictator might rule over America. You saying that it won't happen. You don't know that. You don't know that some dictator might come and be over America. You do not know. And we need to be armed. Most people, let me put it like this. It should be a human right for us to be able to shoot it out instead of dying like dogs. That's a 7. You should be able to at least have a shooting chance instead of being shot down and your family being shot down like dogs. You ought to at least have the satisfaction of being able to pick off whoever's standing in front of you and your family. That's how I feel. And it's the changing of the times. And America is not changing with it. They're not changing with the times. You think you are, you're not. All you're doing is taking away more rights, gun rights. That's all you're doing. And like I said, you have to come to terms with, there is another higher level, intense level of evil in the world, and taking away gun rights is not going to change it. See, what you left out was the preachers, people like me. We change evil, but you excluded us from your community. We are the ones that change the evil. We are the ones that change it. The police can't make people not be evil. The politicians, you don't hear them. What can they do? All they can do is change laws like they're doing. It's the preacher that takes the time. to go through the wiring of the psyche of the people. It's the preacher that takes the time to talk about people's problems and talk through the problems with the people. Police are not doing that. Politicians are not doing that. Entertainers are not really doing that. It's us. And so when you excluded us from your community, now now evil is becoming is hitting an all-time high. And what you're doing, because you can't talk to them, you just saying, well, okay, we'll take away your rights. And that is not the solution. To me, that's an extreme. That's a 7. It's an extreme. It's an extreme. Because, okay, you take away gun rights, certain guns. Okay, they're made. The police have them. The police, there's people walking around with them. There's military have them. I feel like, look, in my opinion, if the powers that be have them, the community should be able to have them. And I know you think, oh, okay, everyone's not responsible, but we can't live for irresponsible people and evil people. We can't live for them. What we have to do is go harder and smash on them harder. Keep the gun laws the same and kill and destroy evil out of our community. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to admit it that we are not, we human beings, humanity cannot be civilized enough to not kill the evil people in our community. It will never come a day and time that we can be like that. And I wish, we all wish that it would not come to the point where we have to kill evil people physically. But there has never been any place in time where we could do anything else. This is the only method that works. And innovative as you may become, innovative as you think you are, at the end of the day, you have not surpassed this method of being able to handle evil. It's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, look at this part. America is still killing people. You're just not killing the right people. That's a 7. You're still killing people. You're just not killing the right people. People dying every day, just not the right people. The people that are oppressing you. And this is what it came to. And my best argument is foundation for my argument is the Civil War. I'm pretty sure there was people that thought, well, let's just try to go talk to these Southerners. Let us just try to really campaign and go down there and influence these people to show them that this is the right way to go about life here in America. It didn't work. It did not work, right? And it wasn't drastic measures. You had to go to war with these people. That's not necessarily a drastic measure. It's maybe the last measure or close to the last measure. But nevertheless, it's not really an act of desperation. Some will say that. Some will not. But one thing is for sure is with all the evil that's on the horizon, it's no way in the world you're going to keep taking gun laws, and use this as the method to make your community good. You're just going to restrain us and make us all become more docile, because the more unarmed generations are, the more docile they are, the less aggressive they are. And then, in actuality, the rebels become worse. People who feel the need to arm themselves become worse, because you didn't make a balance in the force. You just took gun laws. You kept taking gun laws. And some people just say, hey, well, I got to arm myself. That's real. Everyone feel it's a tedious process to get registered guns anyway. And, the authorities don't understand, what we have to go through out here. So why get a registered gun anyway? That's how most people feel. Why even get a registered gun? Because most likely you're gonna have to use it in a way that your government doesn't agree. You're gonna have to use it in a way that your government doesn't agree with, and and so most people don't even get registered guns. We have to change we have to realize we are in a war zone. You got people that push this docile, passive, way of living on everyone. Like we walk around like Star Wars people in the long little dress like shirts and stuff, and like the Star Wars clothes, and you know how they walk around like this. They want us to walk around like Star Wars people, man. In a perfect world, that would be great. You could walk around in a gown, like you just got out of bed. But unfortunately, in the world that we live in, man, we have to be armed against police. Police are going crazy. Our fellow neighbors are going crazy. And then you got people on the streets that's going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how, it's you don't care. The government doesn't seem to care about our need to arm ourselves. Because I've even talked to a police, and I've been locked up for having a weapon. And they made it clear, that sometimes we won't get there on time. So you need to get the proper weapons. They was talking to me. Get the proper weapons, because sometimes we might not get there on time. We'll get there after the fact, basically.